Hi students, welcome back to the Chapter 17 lecture. Class Reptilia, of course, includes the snakes, lizards, turtles, crocodiles, alligators, and birds. Birds were previously placed in the class Aves, but genetically they are similar enough to reptiles that biologists have reclassified them within the class Reptilia. Some two common and local examples. The garter snake here and the eastern fence lizard. And these are killdeer, which are similar to a lot of shorebirds, but they are well adapted to suburban and urban environments as long as they have patches of short grass and gravel. They can actually nest right on the ground in gravel, and their eggs are incredibly well camouflaged. Reptiles have several unique adaptations for living on land, and those include scales, which help to prevent dehydration, lungs for breathing, the amniotic egg, which is a fluid-filled egg with a waterproof shell, and non-bird reptiles are ectotherms, which obtain their body heat from the environment. Of course, birds are endotherms like mammals, so they are able to regulate their internal temperature. Reptiles diversified extensively during the Mesozoic era, and dinosaurs included the largest animals ever to live on land. The largest animal that has actually ever existed is still in existence today and is the blue whale, which can reach lengths of about 100 feet. Birds evolved during the Great Reptilian Radiation of the Mesozoic era, and feathers have evolved from scales, so there are many similarities in the structure of feathers and scales. These are Canada geese. Class Mammalia evolved from reptiles about 225 million years ago. And it includes mostly terrestrial organisms, but there are also the marine mammals such as whales, porpoises, and dolphins that have all the mammalian characteristics as well. These two features, hair and mammary glands, are the hallmarks of mammals. So, other organisms may have structures that appear to be hair, but it's not true hair. Only mammals have true hair. And then mammary glands, of course, produce milk and nourish the young. And here is one of the famous Bowling Green white squirrels. It's actually just a aberration of the normal eastern gray squirrel. They're not albinos because they do have dark pigment in the eyes and the nose. And you'll notice that they're much more common around highly human-populated areas where there are not many natural predators. They're not very well camouflaged, as you can see from this picture, so they're normally not found in very high abundance in wild settings. There are three major groups of mammals. One of those is the monotremes, which is a really interesting case because they actually lay eggs. And there are just three extant or existing species, the platypus, and then two species of echidna or spiny anteaters. And all of these live in Australia. Then we have the marsupials, which are the pouched mammals. The only example we have here in North America is the Virginia opossum, very common in this area. This individual was in Mammoth Cave National Park. Of course, most of the mammals in Australia are marsupials, and this here is commonly referred to as a Tasmanian tiger, but more correctly referred to as a thylacine. And it's an extinct mammal that lived in Tasmania up until about 1936. Eutherians are also called placental mammals, and they include all the other mammals besides marsupials and monotremes. So most of our common mammals, dogs, cats, horses, etc., are placental mammals. And generally there is a longer gestational period than with marsupials. Okay, moving on to a special case of mammalian adaptation and evolution. Primates help to provide a context for understanding human origins. Primates evolved from insect-eating mammals during the late Cretaceous period. And the earliest primates were very small and they lived in trees, so they were arboreal. The distinguishing characteristics of primates were shaped by the demands of living in trees. These characteristics include limber shoulder joints, forward-facing eyes for binocular vision, which is essential for accurately gauging distances and for depth perception, excellent eye-hand coordination, and extensive parental care. Taxonomists have divided primates into two main groups: the prosimians, represented here by these bush babies, and the anthropoids, represented by this baboon. The prosimians include lemurs, bush babies, lorises, pottos, and tarsiers. And the anthropoids include the monkeys, as well as apes and humans. Apes are the closest living relatives to humans. Here we have a gorilla, a chimpanzee, as well as an orangutan. So humans and apes have shared a common ancestry for all but the last 5 to 7 million years. So between 5 and 7 million years ago, humans diverged on their own evolutionary path that was separate from all other existing apes. And if we were to compress the history of life on this planet into 1 year, humans have existed for just 18 hours. I'm going to address some common misconceptions when it comes to human evolution. One of those misconceptions is that our ancestors were chimpanzees or another modern ape. In reality, chimpanzees and humans diverged from a common, less specialized ancestor that is now extinct. Due to us sharing common ancestry with chimps, we share about 96% of our DNA with chimpanzees. But as I said before, we have evolved separately for 5 to 7 million years, which represents hundreds of thousands of generations. The second myth is that people generally have this vision of human evolution as a neat ladder with a series of discrete steps that leads directly from an ancestral anthropoid to Homo sapiens. In reality, human phylogeny is more like a branching tree with many branches leading to dead ends, and our species is the tip of the only twig that still lives. So just as I showed you with that schematic in the first part of this lecture, as far as the diagram that illustrated what your family tree and what evolution actually look like, those misconceptions stem from that same idea that evolution is a very linear process and that it always advances into something more complex. That's not necessarily the case. We have things such as mutations and exaptations that may push evolution into a direction that doesn't seem to be favoring complexity or intelligence. And it really just depends on the current environmental pressures that the organism encounters as to its evolutionary path. The third misconception is that various human hallmarks such as bipedalism or walking on 2 legs and a large brain evolved in unison. In reality, the fossil record reveals that different features evolved at different times and at different rates. For example, erect posture came before large brain size. So our ancestry actually includes ancestors who walked upright but had ape-sized brains. Enlargement of the human brain is first evident in fossils from East Africa, dating back 2.4 million years ago. This is a picture that basically just shows that there were similar species of apes that overlapped in history. So at any one point there may have been 2, 3, 4, or even more apes that were very similar to Homo sapiens existing at the same time, but all of these other species went extinct. So here on the y-axis, of course, we have millions of years ago. The orange bars just indicate the time span during which each of these species lived. So none of these species except our own Homo sapiens existed into the present time period. Okay, as a short review, animals are heterotrophic, meaning they cannot get energy from the sun. They have to consume other organisms in order to gain energy. They're multicellular, and they're eukaryotic. The three major evolutionary branch points that have been hypothesized are true tissues, symmetry, and a coelom or body cavity. And the vast majority of animal diversity is represented by invertebrates. So about 95% of species are invertebrates. Phylum Chordata is mainly comprised of vertebrates or animals with backbones. And the four key chordate characteristics, which are evident in all embryonic chordates and some adults, are a dorsal hollow nerve cord, a notochord, pharyngeal gill slits, and a postanal tail. Class Mammalia falls within Phylum Chordata, and the key characteristics of mammals are hair and mammary glands. And there are three groups of mammals that are based on reproductive characteristics: monotremes, marsupials, and eutherians, otherwise known as placentals. And that wraps up the Chapter 17 lecture. There will be a homework assignment over Chapter 17 and over Chapter 18, but you will not be responsible for these two chapters on the final exam. Good luck, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thanks for listening.